Oh wow, Biff and Nemesis uploaded the same thing on the same day 3 times in a row. What a wacky coincidence, it's almost like they planned it in advance or something. They must be the same person, that'll be a very quirky observation for me to make. I have no idea what I'm titling this video as I record this, but today I'll be reviewing every King of Fighters and Tekken Death Battle episode. I'll probably be doing this for every new episode of the season, where I review every episode directly related to whichever new one comes out. If you're only here for my Heihachi vs Geese opinions, the timestamps are in the description for that, as well as every other segment of the video. But outside of that, I'm covering a few episodes that I never really expected to tackle in a non-ranking video. So let's see what I think of some of these looking back, and whether or not Heihachi vs Geese was able to top any of them.
Or get yourself a designated driver, like Wiz here.
Chun-Li vs Mai Shiranui is always one of the last to come to mind for me whenever I think of Season 1. Even when I first watched the show back in 2011, I didn't really care for this episode all that much. And until this video, it had been a good few years since I last watched the episode. So what do I think looking back on it? Well, it's not good. Not even by the standards that I have for Season 1. I mean, the description alone should have been enough to indicate that this was never going to be my cup of tea from the start. The analysis is mostly boring. I found the joke about Boomstick being distracted as Wiz was talking about the purpose of Mai's outfit decent enough. The rest has very little that stands out to me, outside of the horny Boomstick lines, which I fucking hate. I thought we were done with this after Rogue vs Wonder Woman, but I guess not. Though at least this time he doesn't say he'd sexually assault someone. He only heavily implies it, and there's nothing else for me to say there. This analysis is just a whole load of nothing. I legitimately enjoyed the drunk driving PSA part of the episode more. That's probably the only part of the episode that's ever stuck with me actually. It was pretty good. Props to the episode for having my favourite ad of the season. What an achievement. As for the animation, it was also just boring. There are some decent conveyances of speed. I like how they fight by wall jumping on the tree. I like Chun recovering with the helicopter kick after Mai knocks her down, and that's it. No other moments really stuck with me except for the death, which is so abrupt and it comes out of nowhere and I hate it. I at least like that it uses the environment, but it's still just a boring incineration death that feels like Ben had to rush the episode because he was running out of time. So, what score would I give the episode? Well, I find most of it boring and I don't really feel anything towards it, which would usually land at like a 4 or 5 out of 10, but Horny Boomstick drops it down to a 3 for me. I don't plan on ever watching it again unless I need to make a video that involves it, except for the PSA of course. Next episode now.
So, on the bright side, this means Eliza's single now, right?
That's right, Boomstick!
Ken vs Terry is probably my second favourite Sprite episode of Season 3, and considering I'd give it a 6 out of 10, that's more than a little sad. Though to be fair, this isn't a fine, I guess I like it low 6 like Vader vs Doom or Corona vs Venom. This is a solid, good, high 6 out of 10, and if I was exclusively going off the animation, it probably would have gotten a 7. It's really well animated, it's fast paced with some good respites to let certain moments sink in. I love how intense and destructive it gets at the end, and the death is solid. It's just a really well done fight scene. Not clear of issues of course, the death is still pretty abrupt and I would have definitely preferred the version that Nem's gonna bring up in his video. Ken's bloody and beaten form looks laughably bad with those paper cuts, and there are a few moments of jank and attacks that lack impact. There's nothing major that I hate about it or anything, but on the flip side there's not much that goes beyond just pretty good either. It's just a solid fight that I really like. The analysis is where my big issues with the episode start to arise. It's not bad, it's still alright with some decent callbacks and some jokes that I liked, but it really gives the impression that this whole episode was just made to hype up Terry. It doesn't feel aggressively spiteful towards Ken or anything, this isn't Shadow vs Mewtwo, but it really does feel like they just didn't care as much about him. Terry gets way more feats brought up, from the explosion to the I-beams to scaling to bullet timers. They don't give concrete numbers for most of it, but this is still Season 3, so I'm willing to be a bit more lenient on it since we still get the general idea of where they place him stat-wise. What does Ken get? He survived a big fall and he uppercutted a dude. He beat Bison with help, but they don't say how powerful Bison is. He's fast enough to dodge attacks from Akuma, one of the most powerful Street Fighters. I don't think I need to explain why there isn't much correlation there. And he's mostly just given, holy shit, he's fought this dude. And then they never really comment on how impressive that is outside of, well, Terry's foes are just more impressive. Hell, they say Terry's faster because he scales to a casual bullet timer. Did they forget about Ryu vs Scorpion? The episode they not so subtly plugged, the one where they put Ryu at bullet timing, presumably they think Ken is comparable to base Ryu given the footage they show of them fighting each other, plus they bring up Ken dodging attacks from Akuma, who should definitely be comparable. I don't know about you, but moving your whole body out of the way to dodge a near point blank bullet is a bit more impressive than catching one in your hands that was fired from a good distance away. This is the closest I've ever gotten to actually versus debating myself on this channel, and I don't like it, so I'm gonna stop here. Overall, the episode is good. I like it. I just have a lot of issues with how certain things in the analysis are presented.
That's my comfort character Ryu from Fortnite.
Ryu vs. Jin was the last episode that Torian was the head animator for before he briefly left to go work on Genlock. Well, I mean, he's kind of back now, but he's not on every episode, and he's no longer the sole main 3D animator. The analysis is pretty good. Jin's analysis had a few jokes that I groaned at. They included the "Where You At" sound clip and make a Boomstick's dad joke, like, please fuck off. But it also had a few that I liked, so I guess it was a mixed bag. And I really like how in-depth the conclusion was. I don't care if the stats were accurate, I rarely ever do, but I do really enjoy seeing them cover all their bases, and that's part of the reason I love episodes like Goku vs Superman and Naruto vs Ichigo as much as I do. But of course, the bulk of what I have to say is with the animation. This fight is just so good. It doesn't have any voice acting, but they genuinely could have fooled me because these voice clips fit really well in the context that they're used. And the fight itself is just so fast paced and well choreographed. Every hit has impact, the sound design never makes anything feel weak. Their transformations into both of their demonic forms feel impactful, especially Evil Ryu thanks to the music that accompanies it. I'm not super big on the track, the instrumental was great, but I don't think the rap lyrics fit very well at all. But the change in style for Evil Ryu showing up really makes up for it. Man, I don't even know what else I can say about it because, like, if you've seen the episode or are looking at the hopefully not copyright blocked footage that I'm using, it should be obvious why everything about this fight works as well as it does. Okay, well, not everything. The death is pretty bad, with the power of nothingness feeling like it just curbs Jin way too easily, and the camera angle doesn't do a good job at showing us the hole in Jin's chest. The Ruby set piece doesn't fit the fight at all, and it's the weirdest plug for another Rooster Teeth show that I've ever seen them do.
Just like the Nomad of Nowhere.
Holy shit!
Never mind.
Also, I know this is as nitpicky as I can get, but like, why is Ryu's belt purple instead of black? That bothers me more than it should. Torian was, and still is, a godsend to this show, and I love how all out he went on this fight to make sure he left it on a high note. This is easily my favourite 3D fight of Season 5, and there's very little that holds it back enough for me to give it a 9 out of 10. Now let's see if the new kid on the block was able to top it. Man, Season 8 up until now had been on a real downward spiral. We went from one of my all-time favourite episodes, to one that I liked but didn't love, to a lovely 15 to 20 minute long nap. If they kept going at that rate, Heihachi vs Geese would have been an absolute disaster. So, did it subvert those expectations? Well, I'm here to tell you that Heihachi vs Geese was not a good episode. It was a great one. My biggest worry off the bat was the possible further overuse of Boomstick's dad jokes, and this episode had the most out of the entire season so far. 2 of them, which, yeah, both were unfunny, and one led to an almost minute-long tangent about Elon Musk, which more than overstayed its welcome, but considering Zuko vs Todoroki got like 5, we could have been much worse off. The rest of the analysis was fairly good. I was interested to learn about these characters, and I really liked seeing these series get a more modern coverage. This definitely means Ryu vs Jin is retroactively wrong now, but what are you gonna do? There were some bad jokes at points, but none that were aggressively awful. I mean, Boomstick says the word Scrublord unironically, and I fucking hate that, but I can just pretend that didn't happen. There were some good ones as well to balance it out. I liked the swan joke, and I liked the second cutaway where Boomstick makes it his fucking mission to just eviscerate Wiz's entire self-esteem. I would definitely say the analysis here is better than Ryu vs Jin, both in terms of how entertaining the writing was and how well they covered the characters. Animation wise though, yeah, this wasn't going to stack up compared to a Torian fight, but on its own merits, it was still really great. Yeah, it could be pretty slow at points, but it never got to the point where I was actively annoyed by it. The expression work was a mixed bag, nothing as bad as some of Ryuko's expressions, but not quite as good as Lex's in terms of fitting perfectly with the character's sprites. Though despite not everything fitting seamlessly, the fight was very expressive and I liked that. It was also shockingly funny, which, given that I don't know these characters, I was not expecting that from looking at them. But when I said that in the watch party call, I was told that Heihachi is apparently basically a cartoon character, so I guess it fits him. The predictable line is used enough times for it to be a funny recurring gag without overstaying its welcome, and I love the delivery every time Geese says it. Brent Mukai did a great job. I love that they replicated the voice acting of the older King of Fighters games, and yes, I like it here but not with Shadow. One was done to mock a character the episode was already making fun of to kick him while he was down, the other was done out of a love for the series to replicate what I hear is a very widely beloved part of the older games. Speaking of voice acting, Heihachi is voiced entirely in Japanese by Yoshi Amao. I'm very bad with names, so sorry if I mispronounced that, and they did really well. I don't know Heihachi's canon voice well enough to say if this was an accurate impersonation, but judging off his design it seems like it'd fit him. I also like that he turns the predictable line on Geese's head, that was great. As for the death, my friend Jav wrote out a hypothetical way the fight could have ended, and while it didn't go that far in the actual episode, it still went far enough to where I was happy with it. The hand-drawn Geese melting looked gruesome as fuck and I loved it. My only issues with it are that we never actually see how Heihachi made it back without falling into the lava himself, and it kind of abruptly cuts from the lava falling to Geese already being burned without showing the initial impact. But other than that, it was really well done. My other issues with the fight are fairly minor. Heihachi throwing this rock looked really jank. Geese using 3 whatever they're called in a row kind of brought everything to a halt for longer than I would have liked. We didn't need to see him fire all 3, and Geese getting impaled doesn't feel very impactful. But as a whole, nothing really broke my immersion or anything like that. So, would I place this above Ryu vs Jin? I prefer the analysis here, and the fight does have some better elements, like the death and the track, which is an absolute banger. And it certainly has its moments that match the better points of Ryu vs Jin. My favourite shot in the fight might be this one here of it panning around them fighting on the volcano. I don't know what it is about it, but I really love it. But as an overall package, I'd still say Ryu vs Jin is better by a fair bit. Heihachi vs Geese doesn't quite hit that 9 out of 10 mark for me, but it is still a really strong 8 that I loved a lot. Definitely my second favourite of the season so far. I wish this could have been Liam's directorial debut instead of him being stuck on another Marvel vs DC. DJ is also now 3 for 3 in terms of the episodes he's researched being bangers. If he ends up being on the next time, then let's hope Blake vs Mikasa continues that streak. Oh yeah, speaking of which, next time is indeed Blake vs Mikasa. Yeah, this match disinterests me to no end, and I'm not going to trick myself into getting hyped for it in spite of the dull concept, because that's exactly what I did for Lex vs Doom, and look how that turned out for me. What do I want from the episodes? Well, they would need to be 3D surely. Blake has some really great sprites, but I can't imagine Mikasa has any that are on that same level. And yeah, I've had more than enough custom rigs for one lifetime, no thanks. I want it to be done by the in-house team because Hulk vs Broly and Red vs Blue showed me that they're able to have fast and weighty movements, while Batgirl vs Spider-Gwen showed me that when the SFM team's given a fight with a heavy emphasis on swinging around and a lot of fast movements, then they will crumble into dust. And yeah, I want there to be a lot of focus on traversing the environment and fighting while on the move. I asked Nemesis what he wanted when we were in a voice call, and he said that he wants Blake to appear behind Mikasa and shoot off her head, so yes please, I'm all for that. Just swap their roles, because as someone who has seen Ruby and not Attack on Titan, I am very much rooting for Mikasa. I definitely play up how much I dislike Blake, but really I just find her boring. Not really someone I'm rooting for to win, plus the implication that they'd scale Mikasa above Tifa is really funny to me. Oh fuck, I've got to rewatch Yang vs Tifa for my next review, haven't I? God damn it. Apparently there's an Attack on Titan song called Red Swan, so I want them to make a joke about how it should be called Red Quackins, sure. My final thing I want is for Joseph to show up to the viewing party this time, because he didn't for Heihachi vs Geese, so no one was there to make jokes about how Heihachi has the opposite of diplomatic immunity because he was denied Japanese citizenship. He saved the Lex vs Doom viewing session from being boring as sin, hopefully he can do the same next time.
Oh fuck, he has diplomatic immunity, never mind, he's won.
Though it might be a good thing for Heihachi vs Geese, since it meant he wasn't there to just tear the episode's verdict to shreds. As an avid fan of Tekken, King of Fighters and Ratatouille, he was siding with Geese all the way, so the episode was spared from a grisly fate. I don't know, not much for me to say here really. If you couldn't tell by most of my wishlist being memes, then it goes without saying that I am not very interested in this episode. Really, my only takeaway is that one person pushing hard enough for a match can be enough to make it happen, so fingers crossed we get All For One versus the Annihilator and Destroyer versus Iris next season. I just want Blake versus Mikasa to be good, but given the reaction that we all had to it in the Heihachi versus Geese viewing party on Discord, I can tell it's going to be a hard sell to get me or any of my friends invested. Speaking of the watch party, yeah, we recorded our reactions again, and I've put the highlight reel at the end of this video. After you watch that, then go watch Nem's video, also covering these episodes. I haven't seen it as of recording this, but odds are he'll go into more detail than I will. Hopefully you all enjoyed this video, now enjoy the highlight reel.
Holy shit, it's Marge Simpson.
It's Simpson!
Imagine if they scaled Heihachi to The Simpsons.
Oh, please.
Dude, they're freaking Keith and Peter versus Homer!
Oh!
Among Us!
Among Us! Among Us!
Shut up!
Fucking awesome.
Ding ding
Among
ding
Us
ding
was
ding!
already will bring me so much agony.
Ryu!
White was not
Such guy
Never
should never have joined. I regret every decision I've made
Among Us and
today.
Ryu, this is a good episode.
I'm blushing a little bit right now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it makes sense.
Ah! Why?
Let's go, James.
do
Let's
it.
go.
Who is
Alright,
that?
so I am rooting for Geese.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
They made an Elon Musk reference. Oh, let's go!
This is so much worse than I expected.
Well, except for the
Oh my god, it's still going.
Ooh.
Still going.
There, no.
Oh my god, it's still going.
Cringe.
Let it end, please!
Oh, it's freezing.
That was such a long Elon.
Wiz, you're not allowed to talk about fucking fetishes, alright, mate?
Oh, the adorable fan favorite, come on.
Entire world, even without the devil gene, which surprise
Not the
turns
devil
him into
boner.
a goddamn demon. He can fire
Devil
lasers,
boner.
hit a satellite
I
in a
wish.
fraction of a
The
second.
Boomstick could ruin a Devil Boner death battle by making a dad joke in the middle of his analysis.
They came so close.
You wanna know the funny thing is?
Not the joke.
That's the only dad joke in the episode.
Oh, thank fuck.
Okay,
Oh
cool.
good, that means I get a root for Geese.
That's
That means the Geese analysis is based.
how did they restrain themselves?
You know, it makes sense because that dad joke and that entire joke went on for like 5 hours. That's just the whole joke budget right there.
White wasn't the imposter, guys.
Dad.
He fought Kazuya as he lived.
Wait, no, you just made another
Yeah,
dad
last
joke.
joke,
Just
huh?
there.
No devil gene, no.
That was the last joke.
Did they make another one? I didn't.
He did.
Yeah, just made another dad joke.
Maybe that was the last one. Or maybe I'm just lying to you guys.
I'm pretty sure by the volcano.
Welcome.
Oh, yeah, that's right,
Ooh, I've not
Boomstick.
seen this yet. I'm so
Should you
excited.
ever find yourself there on vacation, you can rest easy.
Yes,
knowing
you
that
are.
Howard Connect.
The only worst name I could think of would be Spawn.
Did he write this
He's
fight?
an Austrian terrorist, but the only
Yeah, he did.
thing he's blown up is his
That's the joke I said I like
His
from
mother
TV
succumbed to an
Brandon.
illness they were too poor to treat.
Oh, it should have been Quacky.
It should.
Yeah.
No, it should
that
be.
is-
That would be a joke for just like 5 people.
We're
Yeah.
robbed by quack of
Yeah.
quackins.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
But
I wish
no,
he
he
said
does
Quackins.
it. The only worst name, but Quackins is a good name.
No, Krakens is a terrible fucking name.
He just said, holy shit.
Which would have been
Yeah,
fun. You should have
Quackins
called him
is
something
a
like
separate
fucking.
Geese is
I'd
not a
beat the shit
Tekken
out of
character.
them.
Why are they just showing Tekken footage of him? Thank you.
I'm very happy they had subtitles.
Jeff the Killer.
I was half expecting them to put a My Name Jeff sound effect.
Me. Inventing reality
What?
bending weaponry for
Is this his Kinney? Is he a Geese Kinney?
Oh, please, Wiz.
Oh, that could have been called Quackins.
Robot Quackins.
Quacking squares.
That's an arsenal.
We're gonna call it Ducko. You need to go one of them Ducko, you want Quackins. It's like, oh, it's a great idea, Boomstick. I might just do that.
No.
Alright, I get the feeling Heihachi's gonna win.
That's higher than
Just
him.
from the fact that they didn't give a number. It didn't give a number to the Jack feat, but they brought it up. But they brought
No,
given a number.
they didn't give a number to
No,
that
they
Storm
gave-
feat either.
They gave a. They actually
Yeah.
said that his feet is twice as fast and I think within the same level of power.
It's the first time we've had a fight in a while.
Last one was Thanos versus Darkseid.
Last one was Canary versus Sindel.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm the king. I'm the king.
Fight a race supreme.
He said it! Yes!
I love that.
This is really good.
Yeah,
He's doing too well. Stop!
Oh, they are on the side of the volcano. Okay.
Did you just say stop doing well?
Yeah, that means gonna lose! He got it back. He got it back.
Oh, dang.
They're just hugging it out.
Oh, they're like getting tired. I like that.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Oh shit! Is this a fake out?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
definitely yeah.
Oh! They're doing it!
Ooh.
Yeah,
No, 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 no.
No.
Look, take it.
No! Jesus!
That's right. Very nice hands.
I guess you could say the ending of that fight was pretty predictable.
That was fucking
was-
Oh!
great.
That was awesome! Damn!
Break out the soy sauce for
Please.
Geese, 'cause
That was
this
a
goose
solid
was
Damn it.
Boomstick said soy. Boomstick said soy.
Soy Jack moment.
Sorry,
Soy.
Wiz,
Soy.
this one, it almost made me shit my pants.
Oh, for fuck's
Shut up!
I hate that.
Thank you.
I was waiting for it. I was waiting for it.
Okay, next
I
time.
saw the
Guys, next time.
Okay, so how about that Doug Walker last night?